Hi guys, it's Kelly here, and I am super excited to be starting off the Honey Bee Stamps YouTube blog hop. Well, blog hop, YouTube hop, video hop. It's a video hop, y'all. And so there's a couple of us today who are just kind of celebrating the new holiday release from Honeybee, and all of the items I'm using today are from that release. I'm using the Farmhouse Tree Builder, the layering Birch stencils, the what is it? It's the top. Oh, it's the Birch A2 top cover plate, and then the Joy stamps and dies. So here I have already put Tombow Mono Multi Glue on my stencils. This is just something that I do to all of my stencils because I don't like to have to mess around with the tape and worry about like the pieces parts moving. And I just put it all over the back. For the Tombow Mono Multi Glue, it dries repositionable. So then once it's dry, I can stick it down. I will warn you that if you put it down too soon and it's still very wet and not tacky, that it permanently adhere to your paper. So when you pull it off, your paper will tear. But if you wait until it's completely dry, I tap it on my hands a couple of times. Once I know that it's just tacky, then you're good to go. And this will stick several times before you have to redo it. In fact, most of my stencils I never have to redo. But I thought it would be super fun to try a technique that really you can use with anything. Today I am going to use to make it a Christmas card, but we're kind of going to build a little magical forest here. So I'm starting with the hickory smoke. I know I want my focal point to be in that center, so I'm making those trees very, very light and the outside trees darker because my shading will be much darker. The first time you use the stencil, if you choose to use the Tombow Mono Multi Glue trick, it will leave some glue behind. It always does the first time I use it, but that's why I have an adhesive eraser. So these are relatively inexpensive, and they're really nice to have as a card maker because if you ever get glue anywhere you don't want it, this is a great way to get it off your card without ruining it. But I just kind of run my hand along until I feel like where the sticky parts are all gone. And then I'm going to use the other portion. The stencil is a 2-pack. So I'm going to use the other trees. These ones are going to be a little bit darker. It already has the middle like blocked out, just very much like the cover plate does. So I'm going to go in and be a little bit more heavy-handed since these trees are going to be in the front. But I wanted to create this layered look of trees so that I could spotlight my focal point, which for me is going to be a Christmas tree. But you could put anything in that focal point. Anything, you could put little animals in the focal point. You could put fairies in the focal point. You could put whatever you wanted in there. Like if you had a little house or a cottage or something like that. I love versatile items. Like I think that we all want products that we can kind of get more bang for our buck. And these for sure are something that I can see myself using in all types of cards. So I didn't, so the way I positioned the stencil, I kind of left the right-hand side a little blank. So I wanted to go back in. So I'm just going to move my stencil over there and create another little darker tree on the right-hand side just to kind of balance it out. And then we're already getting that layered effect, which I love. So again, because it's the first time I'm using that stencil, I got to go back in and remove any of the glue that might have stuck. This one, because there was less glue on it, since it had less intricate pieces. And that's really how I started doing it, is because of the stencils that had a lot of intricate cuts in it. It just wasn't working. Like putting the tape down just wasn't working. Somebody had asked me in a previous video why I didn't just use pixie spray. I've never tried it. That may work. But I did try the Elmer's glue that some crafters were huge fans of before, and that was just way too sticky. So here I've picked out some greens. My thought process behind the greens was that if you had this like forest full of trees, then not very much snow would get down, and that you would still have like some green grass. So I'm just going to put a very minimal amount just so my Christmas tree doesn't look like it's floating. And I'm going to do Twisted Citron, Mowed Lawn, and what was the other one? Forest Moss. Because I do want it to be darker, and you're going to see as we build out the background, it is going to get much darker, but it doesn't have to be. If you were doing this as some other type of scene, you certainly could leave your grass, much brighter or much taller. And then the same thing with your sky. Mine is going to get darker, because that's the spotlight or the highlight. I need those shadows around it to kind of highlight this beautiful Christmas tree that's going to be in the center of this forest. But if you were just looking to make a scene, you certainly could leave this much lighter, and that would work great. So I always do my distress inking twice. If you watch my videos, this isn't news for you. I just feel like I get a much better blend, and it really saturates the paper. So you'll see me work from my lightest color out to my darkest, and my darkest back into my lightest. It's the same way I do my Copic coloring, which, aren't you proud of me? There's like minimal Copic coloring on this card. Yeah, I made a card that I only used 2 Copic markers. It's a Christmas miracle is really what it is. So I kind of had an idea of where my tree was going to go, and so I wanted to just bring in some color on the edges so that that lighter portion, your eye is naturally drawn there, which is going to be how we're going to kind of highlight our focal point. The Distress ink blending right now was kind of looking a little janky. It's totally okay. It's going to get better as we go over it and add more and more color to it. I am also bringing my, when I get to the black soot, I'm going to bring that all the way down into the green, because I want the edges of my card to be the darkest. So it really just drives home that spotlight. And you can see as we're building up this color, for sure you're like looking right in between those trees, right at where I want to draw your eye to. So it's like 7:20 in the morning. I've worked a 12-hour shift. I'm a little bit tired and a little bit hungry, so I'm not really sure what you're going to get this morning. I'm not going to lie to you. That's just kind of where I was at with, this is my heavy week. So the way that my schedule works is, you work 2 days, you're off 2 days, and then, you have to have an 8-hour day in there in order to make a 40-hour work week with the 12-hour shifts. So what we do is we trade, quote unquote, trade with another member from the opposite shift. So that way, every other Saturday, Sunday, Monday, you're off of work. So here, if you just wanted to do this, you could totally put like a deer in there or a cute little fairy or something, and it would totally work. Since I wanted a little magical forest feel, am going to add some just spatters of clean water, which will kind of break up that background, like when the sun is filtering through and there's moisture in the air. So I'm going to do it subtly with water. If you just like the subtle look, stop here. If you're like me and you like all the shimmers, then get out them perfect pearls, because we're going to be spattering them to make it all shimmery, shiny, pretty. So anyway, we trade because Sunday is our short day. So the Sundays I work 8 hours, and then every other Sunday I'm off, which is super nice. But on your long week where you work Saturday, Sunday, Monday, you're only off Tuesday and Wednesday, and then you have to work Thursday and Friday. So this is my Friday. Heading into it, I'll have to work one more night. So now that this is all dry, I'm going to go ahead and start my stamping. I'm normally not a layered stamp person. Oh, I'm just checking my placement here to make sure that my tree will be centered in my cover plate. I am normally not a layered stamp person because I find them oftentimes, even the easy ones, challenging to line up. And I very much like my cards to look like my own. However, these are like cake. They are so simple to line up, which is perfect for me, who is layered stamp challenged. So here I'm stamping, this is Ocean Drive from W+9. So I'm stamping that first layer down. In hindsight, I'm not going to pretend. You guys know I own my regrets or wish I would have. I wish I would have stamped them twice. so that it was a little bit darker, but I didn't. So it's a very light impression for me. I just wish the tree would have been a little bit bolder, but that's okay. It looks like it's got a lot of light on it, which with the background is how it's supposed to look. So for the detailing, I'm going to be stamping this in Siren Song. This is also from W+9. You can use any inks that you own. These are just the greens that I had on hand. And I was on the phone with Dawn, who is the owner of W+9 and is one of my best friends, and I was trying to find some greens to match, and I was like, hey, can I do this one and this one? And she's like, no, it's not enough contrast. And I was like, can I do this one and this one? And she was like, I don't, it's kind of be a little yellow green. So anyway, eventually she led me to this, and it worked perfectly. So thanks, Dawn. So here I did notice that my tree was stamping over the front of this tree. And in order for this little scene to make sense, that tree needs to be in front of my Christmas tree. So I had just lined my stencil back up, super simple, and I just went back in with more hickory smoke and darkened it up so that you couldn't see that stamping, and now it makes much more sense. It looks like that tree is in front. So now I can go back to lining up my third layer. I was considering doing some heat embossing on the third layer. Because it's like sparkles or ornaments or lights, but I decided that I was too nervous to do embossing because I had done all this distress inking and I wasn't sure it was going to be 100% dry. So what I decided to do was just stamp it with metallic ink. And I really love the Altenew one for this. It's super pretty. I chose the gold, but I want to make sure it's not going to stamp over that tree that I need to be in front. So I just used a leftover piece of like masking tape that I had. I blocked that off, and then I just stamped the gold down. It is very subtle and you can barely see it on camera, but in real life you can see the gold on the tree. So, and we're going to add a little something coming up to zhuzh it up anyway. Now I'm just going to go through, and this is just the same white Nina 80-pound solar white cardstock I normally use, and I am going to die cut this birch tree, or it's the Birch A2 top. They also have a base, just like the stencil with all the birch trees, so you can get whichever one suits you, which I kind of like having the two different options. I am going to add a little bit of shading to this. I didn't just want to put stark white on top of it while I had all this other shading in the background. So I'm using a C3 and a C1. I'm just adding the shading to the outside edges where the shading in my little forest is the darkest. So I'm just doing one quick line of C3, and then I'm going to blend that out with the C1. I am still going to leave some white on there. I'm really just trying to blend out that C3. And then that's all I'm going to do to that. So anywho, with the crazy work schedule, it's super nice because you do get extra time off, but then during your long weeks, it's crazy. However, on your short weeks, you are off Saturday, Sunday, Monday, you work Tuesday, Wednesday, and then you're off Thursday, Friday. And that, my friends, is the cat's pajamas. And that's what keeps us working these crazy hours, because, you know, if you have limited vacation time, or if you have, like I do, I have limited vacation time because I haven't worked there very long, but I can take, Tuesday and Wednesday off and have 7 days off. Like, that's fantastic. So I'm really good with the 12-hour shifts, even though on these long weeks, like, you're exhausted by the time it's over. So here I'm just going to go ahead and glue my die cut frame down flat, and so that way I thought about doing it raised, and then I knew I was going to pop my sentiment up, and I felt like maybe it would be a little bit too much, so I decided that I was just going to go ahead and adhere it down flat, and it would still be a little bit of texture because obviously you're gluing cardstock to cardstock. And I didn't get it perfectly lined up. I had a little bit of extra, like, it was straight, but on the right hand side I had a little bit of the blue showing. So I'm just going to go in, and you'll see how very little, like, it curls on itself. It's such a little amount that I trimmed off, but that was just to make sure everything was flush. And then now from here, we're going to start working on our sentiment. I picked some black glitter paper from Tonic. I love this stuff. I love all their glitter paper. And then I'm going to die cut that out. And then for the rest of the sentiment, there's so many good ones in here. And I have to tell you, I was a little bit mad that I didn't have room. Like, because I had this tree as my focal point. I didn't want to cover up my tree, even though I tried to. You'll see that later. There's so many good sentiments in here. I really, like, it has the joy to the world, wishing you joy in the holiday season. It's got a Hanukkah sentiment, but it has the lyrics, the joy to the world. It has the Lord has come, let earth receive her king. I just totally love that. Those are all included in there, and you could do such a fun, sentiment with that. So here, now that that's heat embossed, I am going to trim this. I typically don't show this in my cards or my videos just because there's always so much going on, but I thought I would leave it in this one because we do have time for it. And I just wanted you guys to see that I am legit trying to get every little bit out of my black cardstock. Oh, you can probably hear my dogs barking. I don't even know what they're barking at. Some squirrel who's probably running up a tree 6 miles away and they can hear it. That's how dogs are. So I spared you the pain of having to watch me cut all these little teeny tiny pieces for my joy. Yes, there is an outline die. Yes, there is a stitched outline die, but I didn't want it to be any bigger than it had to be because, again, I'm not trying to cover up this tree. I'm trying to let this tree be what it's meant to be, which is highlighted, spotlighted, the star of the show. This is her time to shine. So now I'm just going to go ahead, and it is kind of rough to remove all those little sticky pieces and not pull off your little sticky foam pieces. But I find that if I press my thumbnail into the center of it, it'll raise the edge and then I can get the paper off pretty easily. So I'm going to adhere down the joy. And as you're looking at it, like you can see, the trees are not as full on the right-hand side. Just because of the way that it ended up being stamped with the stencil. So I am putting my sentiment to the right hand side to fill up that area and then also not cover up my tree. But wait, I think I'm going to try to cover up my tree. And then it's instant regret. Like you can see it. Like instantly I'm like, this is a terrible idea. So I put it up here and I'm like, nah fam, I don't really like it. So then I put it next to the joy and I was like, oh yeah, that looks good. I'll do that. Push it down, push. Wait a minute, I've just covered up my tree. Now let me try to get this thing off. So I ended up taking off the sentiment, and then I took my little honeybee pokey tool, which I have just found endless uses for, and then I went ahead and removed the foam, put the foam back on the little label, and then I stuck that down above the joy, but a little further to the right. These fancy little gems, honeybee has all kinds of combinations, but this one is the holiday cheer. And so I'm going to use a couple of the white ones just to kind of accent my sentiment because I just felt like it didn't have a great flow. I don't know if it's because the beginning part of the sentiment was off to the right and the joy started more to the left and we read things from left to right. I'm not really sure what happened there. But it just wasn't. So I put the little white gems, which I liked. And then I wasn't going to do it because I thought like maybe it was going to be too much. But then I couldn't stop myself. And so I used the dark red ones. There are light red ones and dark red ones. But I used the dark red ones to make like little ornaments on my tree, which I totally loved. And then I put a clear one at the top for like a little star. And then that's it. That's the whole card. That's all I did to it. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Please check out the YouTube description below for your next step on the hop. And there is $15 per blog video, stop saying blog, Kelly, per video hop that will be giving away a $15 gift card. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.